Hey everyone, my name is Brian. I am the owner of Unified Technologies, and for a while now I've had some customers and some friends want me to show them how to use their computer because they just got a computer and they come to me and say, I don't even know the basics. Um, it's all Greek and they don't really understand it. So for a while I've been meaning to put together a series of basic videos to show my clients and friends the basics of computers and kind of learn some of the terminology and that sort of thing. I also noticed I used to work for Comcast phone support and knew how frustrated it was for some customers to not understand a lot of what we were talking about. So this is going to be very basic, going over mouse, keyboard, and some of the basic functions. And if I have time later, I put together some more in-depth videos on some of the other functions. First off, we're going to take a look at the mouse. Now, most mice come with the basic two-button system. You have your left button and your right button. So if you have somebody tell you to left click or right click, it's just a matter of pressing and releasing the left button or the right button on a right click. If anybody tells you to double click on something, it's a matter of clicking the left button in quick succession. Another term you might hear is to drag, in which that is a matter of just holding down on your left button while moving the mouse at the same time. And you can usually move certain icons or text or whatever else you're working on within the windows or the screen. Some mice will come with a third button, or in this one you see there's a scroll wheel, and the scroll wheel sometimes will function as a matter of moving your screen up and down, like if you're browsing the web. Next thing we're going to look at is your keyboard. If we look along the top here, the first one you have here is your escape key, and this is used usually to close out windows or close out certain programs that you're in. The rest of these ones along here are what we call function keys, and they're marked F1, F2, F3. So if you have somebody tell you to hit the F5 key or hit the F1 key, it's a matter of hitting these keys up here and not hitting an F and a 4 or F and a 5. And these all serve their purpose depending on which program you're in. For the most part, F1 usually will bring up your help. If you're in a web browser, you hit F5, it'll refresh your page. F11 will take you into a full screen mode. After these function keys, there's a print screen here, and this again has certain functions depending on what program you're in. For the most part, I will use it for taking screenshots, and if you hold down this CTRL button and the print screen at the same time, it'll actually copy what's on your screen, and then you can paste it into either Word document or mail and send it to somebody. After that is the pause break key. It's not really used in Windows. It was more used during the DOS time to stop things from scrolling on your screen. You could pause it, that sort of thing. And then you have your insert and delete key as far as inserting characters and deleting characters. The rest of the keyboard is pretty self-explanatory with your letters and numbers. You have your tab, you have your caps lock. If you press this once, it turns these all into caps. If you press it again, it turns it into lowercase. If we focus more on the bottom row here, we have our CTRL key, which we refer to as the control key. And this key is used in conjunction with other keys. So if somebody tells you to hit Control C or Control V, it's a matter of holding down the CTRL key and the other key at the same time. So you say hit Control C, you'll hold this down and hit C. Right next to it is the FN key or the function key, and if you notice it's in a different color, and this corresponds to these little pictures up here that will control certain functions on your computer. So if I hold down this key and I hit this one, it shows it will mute your sound. This will decrease your sound, increase your sound, decrease your brightness, increase your brightness, and so on. The other key over here is the num lock, you can see is in blue. So if I hold down the FN key and hit this, it'll turn on the num lock. Some of your bigger keyboards, you would have a keypad over here to the right, in which you could enter numbers. If you're doing accounting or spreadsheets, it makes it a lot easier. But if you don't have that keypad, if you turn on this num lock, you can see here next to these letters there are numbers. So with that turned on, it turns these keys into your number pad, so you can enter numbers just from these keys here. I've had some customers come in, they say, well, they hit J and they get 1, they hit K, they get 2. It was a matter that they turned on this num lock function, and if you hold down the FN key and the num lock, it'll turn these back into letters. Next one here is the Windows key, or the Start key. It has a little flag on it. This key here will actually open up your Windows menu or your Start menu on your screen, as well as it has other functions. If you hold this down and press one of these keys, it'll do certain things within your Windows or programs. Next to that's the Alt key, and this serves kind of the same purpose as a control key. By holding this down and pressing one of these other keys will cause your program to do certain things depending on what program you have in it. One other thing is, if you ever run into where your program has froze up on you or not responding, if you hold down the control key, the Alt key, and the delete key at the same time, you'll get a screen that pops up and will allow you usually to shut down your computer without having to pull the power plug or hitting the power button. It also has a few other functions that we'll look at a later time. So now that we have some of the basics down, let's take a look at the desktop. Now, for the most part, this whole area up here is your desktop, in which you a lot of times will have icons here, which I'll show you in a bit. I have them turned off at the moment. Let's look down here at the bottom. This is what's called your Start menu, or your Start icon, Windows icon. Some people use it differently, different terms. But if I left click, it'll actually bring up a menu. And up here at the top, it'll show me a lot of the programs that I've opened up recently. It'll let me look at my files, settings. I got my power function here, which I can turn my computer off. And here we have all apps. So if I left click on that, it actually showed me all the apps that I have installed on my computer in alphabetical order. Over here on the right is called the Start menu, and you can actually put different little pictures here or icons that you use most frequently. And there's a couple ways you can put them here. You can either drag by holding down the left mouse button and pulling them over, or you can right click on them, say pin to start, and now you see it's over here in your Start menu. If I close out my Start menu and reopen it again, you can see it's still there, and I can quickly open up that program. If I right click on it and say unpin from Start, it's now gone and goes back into my menu system here. Right next to that is Cortana, which was integrated into Windows 10. If you have a microphone hooked up to your computer, you can always say, hey Cortana, and it'll come up and say listening. You ask it a question, it'll actually do a search function for you either on the web or on your computer. You can also access it by just clicking on it and type in whatever you want to find, and it'll actually go out and look at your computer, look on the web. It looks through the Microsoft Store and finds different things that you may be interested in based on your search. There's more functions here to Cortana, but we'll get into those later. Down here in the bottom is called the taskbar, and down here you can either have programs you frequently use, you can pin them to the taskbar just like we did in the Start menu, or any program that you currently have running, which will have a little line under it, is the ones that are currently running, and you can open them and close them as just by simply clicking on them. If we don't want all these icons down here, if we find out we don't use them, you can always right click on them and say unpin from taskbar. It'll now remove it from the taskbar, and it won't be down there until I open it again. If I decide I want to take it back, I just hit up my start menu, and any program within here or here, you just simply right click on that program and say pin to start. Oops, wrong one. Go to more, pin to taskbar, and now it's back on my taskbar. You can also, if you have a program opened, like we have here, I can always right click on it. And then I can go to pin to taskbar, and it'll actually pin it down there, so when I close it, it'll just stay. If I move over here to the right, you can see we have our clock. We have a notification area. So if you click on that, Windows will actually show you certain things that are going on with your system. It has some other functions here that we'll look at at another time. We have our wireless icon. If I click on that, it'll show me all the wireless connections, my battery. If you see this little up arrow key here, if you click on that, this shows all the other programs that are currently running on your system. And you can always right click on them, and sometimes you can exit them out so they're no longer running. If you don't want them hidden, you want them down here, it's just a matter of simply clicking on it and dragging it down, and now it'll be down here and not up here in the hidden ones. Another function that came actually with Windows 8, but it's more prominent in Windows 10, is this task view. And if you click on that, you can see we have multiple desktops open, which we can switch back and forth and run different programs on them. If I don't want to have this desktop, I can simply click the X, it removes it. If I want to add more desktops, I can simply click on the new desktop and it'll add other desktops for me. The last thing here is your desktop and your icons. I said I had them turned off. I'm going to turn them back on here. These are all what we call shortcuts, and it's a matter of it's an icon that links to your programs that are on your computer. So we can have quick access to them here, and we can add these icons simply by clicking and dragging them up. And now I have a shortcut to my Excel file here. If I no longer want it there, I can simply right click, go to delete, yes, and it removed it from my desktop. Now when I delete these, it doesn't actually delete the program. If you look here and you see this little arrow next to it, that's considered a shortcut, so it's not actually deleting your program. Now you see I have some here that don't have the arrow. These are the actual programs. So if I right click and I delete those, I'm actually going to delete the program itself. Now if you do happen to delete something, it doesn't totally delete until you empty your recycle bin. Everything you delete goes into this recycle bin, and if you open that up, you can always restore the deleted thing back. You can also empty this from time to time just by right clicking and empty the recycle bin. Alright, so that's some of the basics. I'll come up with some other videos later on if you want to subscribe, and we will see you later.